What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. I've been extra rosy and happy about the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! Between Genesis and frame break cards and serialized cards even, but here's Konami's first test at serializing cards, and it is wild. They went direct to consumer, not through shops, and they even did a lottery system, and now people are asking $4,500 for the special large hanging scroll and the God card in Prismatic Secret Rare. And yes, they do use the term serial. They have a serial number on the box, a certificate for the card as well. One certificate, and then the Prismatic Secret card. This is a nice package that costs 99,000 yen or $630, and the first one that I've seen for sale is asking 4,500. Actual sales data will be different than what people will ask for and actually sell for, and we'll wait and see how they go. But these are by far the rarest Yu-Gi-Oh cards outside of like World's prizes and stuff like that that have hit the market, and they're of some of the biggest icons in the game. Now, that art is available on an ultra rare in mass order, but it's a timed order, so after this no more will be made. They're smaller wall scrolls, so copium to the people who didn't get the gigantic ones. And I do think with the price point being under $100 for those, well, yeah, it's a lot easier of a pill to swallow for the average person, and you still get that amazing art on the card itself. I think with this one, having the instant lower rarity alongside it does hurt the top end, and if this is Konami's approach towards serialized cards, it's this. But in an extra special rarity, some of them will be bangers depending on the single, and others will fall by the wayside. Now, the Egyptian God cards are the icons of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's the first cards that people were flipping on Amazon for like 5x profit compared to other platforms because little Timmy's just wanted to have their Slifer, Obelisk, and Ra. But I do want to go over the history of how Konami's really fumbled with collectors overall compared to this release. First off is the Masterpiece series. They advertised this as 1,000 units, but they were tricky with their wording and their official descriptions. But here's Ruxin with a little time capsule. In 2021, a small number of duelists will be celebrating in style with a special all-metal Blue Eyes White Dragon card. Limited to 1,000 initial copies. That word initial really concerned me, and they actually released 3,000 all at once. They did it for other zones like the EU, and they were differentiated. I think that Konami they want to make as much money as possible, and they did it by getting one over on the consumer. Dark Magician Girl is still up for order. It's numbered, and they're still printing numbers on it, and I pointed that out. It's still up for sale for anyone who thought they were going to make bank. I know people who bought like 20 of these. I was like, I want to do that. I'm going to get my one personal one and chill with that. And you can see here, much lower than TCG Player. These still sell lower on eBay and come from other regions cheaper. And the ones from the US are also still cheaper than what they're actually going for on sale. Somebody might be trying to pump it a bit, but 2,800's kind of wild. And that's the opposite of our last video, right? Where we're talking about how eBay was selling for way more. Here's an example of way less. But also the vanilla BLS. Here's Asian Persuasion unboxing his, and it actually came damaged. But at first, it was a lottery. And then we go back to the Japan release. They did one wave, and it was supposed to be super limited. It was like $1,400+ actually. Some sold for $2,000. A second wave, they started to dip $1,100, and then they released them here in the TCG with the Metal God cards via lottery, and then later they re-released the ones that didn't sell with a guarantee of the BLS. I have one of these as well thanks to that promotion, and that's why I ended up going for it, and it now sits at 1/3 that initial price, half after the second wave, and it's just Konami putting it in again and again and again with that word limited not really feeling like what it meant. So with the future of serialized and how collectors or speculators or whoever you want to call them have gone with their collectibles on Yu-Gi-Oh!, they've been burned time and time and time again, and nothing truly has felt special up until now. They're saying, hey, it's going to be numbered. It's going to be serialized. And we'll see how they end up going with that versus, oh, it's going to have a 30th stamp this time or something like that. That's why people aren't jumping at the bit. And I'm rooting myself a bit back in reality on what Konami has done in the past, but hoping they will right the ship in the future here, because it's time. It's sinking. We are probably set to be outpaced by other card games in the next year, and people will start the copium. Oh, it's the big 5 card games instead of the big 3 once Yu-Gi-Oh! Falls out of it. Like, I do think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is set on a course if it does not find its footing, and I really hope it stays in the big 3. I want it to be. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm going to continue to collect certain things, but I am still letting go of my TCG cards at this point, and I don't necessarily think this is what's going to save product all by itself despite initial asks. And there is that asterisk of how Konami has handled things that are limited before. The 5Ds set, I've told you about the delays multiple times. It's been selling for an eye-popping $50 a box consistently, up even further. I've told you all not to shop with FOMO. Look, 2 sellers have come in at 44, and I would still be waiting to try to find it at Walmart, etc. The delay is staggered. Different places are going to get it different times, and it is extremely anticipated thanks to the cards inside, but I would still be trying to get it more for retail than jumping on it at, like, look at all these people that spent 50. I checked. Both of these can add to cart. 18 copies, 47 copies here starting to line up. People will get theirs in, and that supply versus demand is going to be different. However, Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotions can definitely throw a wrench in that on TCG Player and maybe even long-term spike it. So do plan for yourself. I'm here more as a guide in how I would handle it. I would be trying to find it on a Walmart shelf while I'm shopping for sodas, personally. But if you are in need of the cards inside, I mean, 44, not the worst markup in the world, but I'd still be fighting to get it at retail. Speaking of not at retail, you can use code What'sGood10 for 10% off over at the Team Samurai X1 shop. They have a really cool art on a deck box and mat that is a throwback to a classic in our community, but with Ash Blossom this time, and you get a mystery deck box all for $60, and it, I believe, is signed as well. So if you're a fan, that's a big plus, but the deck box in question here will be released basically with a bonus compared to his usual prices. And then a lot of really well-priced playmats with great art. I've had a couple of these myself and given some away on stream also. I think they're some of the coolest rubber mats out there at a great price of $30. So again, even cheaper with code What'sGood10 for 10% off and to support the channel. And while you're over there, I haven't tried these yet, but the outer sleeves are down to $5 a pack. Probably worth adding to your order, maybe to use for a binder if you just want a clear sleeve and haven't hunted down anything from the OCG. Vanquish Soul Canine did it big at a YCS and has a little uptick. It's not like a YCS wrecked the market, it dinged the market. And we see Holly Sue coming back up from $3 all the way to a whopping $4.50 to $5. So it's not like people are rushing during this winter market or bandwagoning all that much, but the volume is bandwagony. It's a lot of sales. And I meant to have other cards next, but for Genesis, Bramble Rose has gone up even further in price and down further on quantity. Nothing to do with the shirt or anything. We also have Izuna similarly up a couple dollars. Not the most in the world. It's not reactionary. 15 to 16. It's climbing down from 13-ish and on up into the 16s. And then K9 Noroi is also up a couple dollars, but was already headed that way to some degree from $22 to $25. So people are on the deck. They're seeing its success and they're chasing after it. And I put a couple things out of order on this market watch. Red No Nova Dragon and Red Nova itself are two cards I'd be looking at, because people were spending a while back $25 to $30 on it, and it's done nothing but fall but hasn't got its reprint, and people are starting to pick it back up. So you might want to get yours sooner than later, especially a foil version if you're interested. It's missed all the reprints so far. I could see it being in something like Maze or some kind of easier access, but look at all these $5 sales from a bit ago and $7s like it's priced right now mixed in there. But just a bit ago, if we keep going back towards the announcement, it was selling for much more. You can see all the $10. It continues to rise. 12. There's the 20s. It starts to get up in the 18s, and yeah, 25s, 40, 45 ridiculous prices at one point during the mass hype. Now, again, we're coming into the support. People are going to need this card. There is a common version still accessible as well for somewhat cheap. Quantities aren't the most in the world. I would be getting yours sooner than later if you're interested. Also, every holo version of Red Nova Dragon has gone up in price. If you want a common, luckily the Crimson King structure deck ended up with a very nice reprint there and easy access, but the rest of them, every single holo is going up in price. It's not ridiculous yet, but they are going. Like this super rare is the lowest around $2, and then let's see where the other copy, oh yeah, way further up towards $260, and then towards $4-5. So all of these have been going. If you're on this deck or you're a big fan of it, start to get your pieces now, or you're going to be waiting a long time again for holo versions. Thunder Dragon Dark for Genesis is getting a bit of a buyout, especially on its quarter century secret rare. There's tons of nice looking versions of this though. Go ahead and get the one you want for cheap, or go all the way for max and pay double what it used to be. 969, not so nice. Dimensional Fissure quarter century secret rare also spiking. Let me know if you know why on this one. I haven't got an answer on that, but I feel like most floodgates in Genesis are taken care of, and I didn't look at the list. Let me know the reason in the comment section below, but it's towards, we had a low of 23, then 26, then 27, and the sales here, they've been going a bit. Thanks for watching today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Market Watch. I know we did the more of a generalized discussion to start, but I love doing those, and I do think it's worth going over the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! With where we've come from the past, and how it's been handled, and where collectors are at in terms of returning versus staying wherever they're at, be it Pokemon, Gundam, League of Legends, One Piece. There's so much more competition these days, and with how Konami has handled things before, I get feeling burned over and over and over in the last years. Ever since we went into the quarter century secret promotion, haven't felt the best overall for people, stores, pretty much anybody that's not Konami. And I feel like Konami has to be feeling it in the sales department too, to be starting to do these kind of hoops and special promotions, and now people are trying to make big profits on it. Let's see where it goes. Hopefully it ends up with product opened instead of hoarded for that special chase, because let's say they do 200 inside of a booster set. Will that be per region? Will that be, split 200 in the US, 200 in the EU, or 100 per region? How will that end up? Because there's other regions too, Central, South America. Like, where will they split up serialized in different languages? What will those numbers be? What will they actually mean? For now, 200 copies of each God card in a special rarity is pretty wild. And we'll see where they're actually at versus arts too, because they just changed the rarity on this one and then the size of the banner. And that's its own competition in a sense. I still feel like we're in an area where Konami's not necessarily getting it, but they're starting to. And I really do hope they turn a 180 on product that doesn't end up with the rabid demand of Pokemon somehow, but gives Yu-Gi-Oh! A satisfying feeling for opening it and having a chance at something special. That would be the sweet spot for casuals, competitors, stores, everybody.